Hey everybody, it's Joel with Backroad Builds. Today we have something a little bit different for you. We're going to go on a road trip all the way to Stephenville, Texas and visit our man, Buddy Hawkins. I'm going to pack up this 40i plasma cutter and bring it along to help him on a project, and in return, he's going to teach me something. I'm going to need some help with this. Hey, buddy.
Welcome to Texas, Joel.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it. So if you don't mind, could you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
You bet. Well, I'm a farm boy from Kansas. I was born in the 80s. My grandparents had a lot of farmland up there. I was around rodeo. An aunt and uncle were producers. And so I had an opportunity early on to see a competitive side of the Western industry that was really exciting to me. A few years down the road, I've made the National Finals Rodeo, won some major events, and I'm living the dream here in Texas. So when we're dragging our arenas to get ready to rope, I usually use a tractor and some, rippers, and I go, rip it up and get the ground about the way I want it. But in between horses, a lot of times we just need to just kind of level the soil. So that said, what I've kind of started here, going to be an improvement on the tires or logs I've been dragging around to flatten it. Is, I've got these down rods that I think I'm just going to be able to hook this up to the four-wheeler or the Polaris Ranger and run around there, and it'll just kind of fill in the hoof prints. And then off the backside, I was looking at putting like a rake on there and something that's going to be a nice smooth finish. Hopefully we end up with nice level ground to go ahead and work horses.
Yeah.
So that said, I need to finish up a couple things on here, and then we need to cut that rake out and actually attach it to the backside. So I was wondering if you could help me with that. I've kind of started marking it out over here. So I've started making the marks here, and what I've kind of had in mind was, this kind of looking like a oversized yard rake. With, certain sections cut out here with the plasma cutter, and then, leaving certain teeth in there.
Sure. And then on these teeth here, do you want the corners rounded a little bit? Do you want them left straight?
Man, I think rounded is probably going to give us the best look, because, this is going to be the last part to touch the ground behind that drag. Ideally when we drag through there, we're not going to leave any tire tracks. We're not going to leave any marks from the down rod. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, if we can have a nice kind of a rounded finish where that ends up being as flat as possible.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll go ahead, I'll get started on this, and then you can finish your welding on there, and we'll get this thing wrapped up for you.
I'm excited about it.
So what I'm going to do to finish the back part of this rake up is Buddy had already started putting all the measurements on here, making these marks. What I'm going to come back and do is cut each one of these individual teeth out. Once the teeth are cut, I'm going to take the bottom portion and round the corners like he wanted, and then that should complete this. We'll wind up bringing it over to the rake and weld it onto there. So Buddy, you're a native of Kansas. At what age did you get interested in the rodeo, and what eventually brought you from Kansas to Texas?
Everything around me screamed rodeo, western, farming. That's just been my lifestyle from the beginning. I had an interest in rodeo early on, and specifically the competition side of it, less toward preparation, more toward competition. 6 to 8 years old, my folks gave me the option of kind of getting into sports or having a horse, and so I chose the horse. But I wasn't passionate, and then when I was about 14 years old, we had moved away actually from our original hometown, and then came back, and the option of like starting colts and competing at rodeo was there for me. And so I jumped on it, and to be honest with you, part of that was finances. In our little area, I basically worked for my grandpa, which was awesome, or I had to get involved in something outside of our circle to be able to make any money. So within that, honestly, it was a little bit of the competitive side of me. It was a little bit of the passion for the West, and there's a little bit of a desire to make money that all kind of culminated in what started my career on this path that I'm on now. So what I'm working on here on this arena drag is setting up this jack so it's actually going to be able to pick up the back portion. So I'll be able to pick it up when I'm attached to the four-wheeler, pull it around the yard if I'd like, potentially even be able to move it around by hand here in the shop. So with that, what I need to do is I need to attach the jack here into this yoke and then finish a few welds so I'll be ready for the rake when Joel gets it finished up over there with the plasma cutter.
So you mentioned that you have some of your other family members are involved in the rodeo. What exactly did they do?
Generally speaking, I've got an aunt and uncle that were actually in production of rodeo, the Heb Rodeo Company back in the day, and those are my earliest memories of attending rodeos and also earliest competition as well. I've got several cousins throughout that have been involved in rodeo. My siblings, they predominantly have focused on team roping, which is kind of a blurred line with regards to, you know, team roping is as big within itself as rodeo is separate. You know, generally speaking, there's as many dollars paid out. Just to put in perspective, there's more money paid out at the World Series finale of team roping each year in Las Vegas during the NFR than there is paid out at the NFR during the NFR. So team roping is huge within itself. So that said, several of my siblings, and then also my brother-in-law, Andrew Ward, I've made the national finals with him the last 4 years. Well, Joel, I really appreciate you helping me finish my project today. What an experience to get to work with a guy like you. Now we get to do what I'm good at and you're terrible at. So I'm going to show you the rope.
Hey, I'm only going to be as good as the trainer. So
well, there you go.
We'll see what you can do.
What's that say about those welds that I put on that drag a minute ago? The first step of this process as a header is going to be to find your position. So what we're looking for here, ideally, is an area that we feel like we're going to be able to swing our loop onto the front end of the cow. So there's 3 legal head catches within heading. One is going to be just the horn. So that would be the right horn and the left horn and above the nose right there. So that's going to be considered slick horns is what we call that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to rotate this rope. If I'm looking from the bottom up in a clockwise motion, if you're looking from the top down, it would be counterclockwise. And essentially what I'm trying to do is this rope, if I was to make a really fast motion with it, I'm not going to be able to control and keep that loop open. So what I'm trying to do here as I swing this rope around my head is I'm trying to get enough momentum that stays open. You know, if this was a golf club, we would be able to just load up and then swing it right through those horns. And essentially, if we made it out of, you know, fiberglass or metal, we'd be able to just swing our rope on. But in this particular case, what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep this loop open. So we want it to be more of a hula hoop, but we want to have enough power that it can travel to the steer. So if I was to just walk all the way up here, I would be able to just sweep that right on those horns, if that makes sense. Now I'm going to offer you this Big Bite Dally Wrap glove. Now this glove, it has never missed a steer.
Never.
But also it's never caught a steer. And with your soft hands from being a welder, you're definitely going to need that so you don't get a blister today. But what I want you to do is stick those 4 pieces in your left, this in your right. We'll do a quick measurement. So bring this to your chest and see just a little bit too much. And what I'm going to do, I'd like to see you have just a little bit more loop. And now roughly shoulder length. Okay, now when you start this rotation, I want you to reach your arm out to roughly shoulder length. And you're going to start off actually by turning the back of your hand toward the dummy and the palm away.
Like
so what that's going to do is, yep, that looks fine. So what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to start with your index finger down and your little finger up. And this first swing, I want you to just bring your rope over and see the head of the cow through your loop. A little bit less between your arms and a little bit more spoke. So the portion with the Honda on it needs to be just slightly greater. Perfect, very good.
More there, but less here.
So rotate top down as you bring it in front of your face. Top down, little finger up,
So
perfect.
down like this.
Yep. Bring
and then
that.
as I'm coming around, that's where I want to see.
Correct.
That's where I want to see the head. So
now go ahead and go around. Now down again. Very good. Very good. That's perfect. Now
Ooh,
see,
little.
exactly where you're shrugging your shoulders, that's exactly where if you don't turn it down, you're gonna hit yourself. But by turning it down, it rotates that rope up over what would be your hat brim. Beautiful.
Oops.
Boom.
Now-
Done. Sold. All right, I'm a good teacher. Now let's go to the next
Okay,
thing.
we're done.
It's no big deal, huh? No challenges here. That was perfect. Yeah, mic drop. I love it.
Tell you what, I like I say, I've got a whole new appreciation for what you do. And no offense, but I'm going to stick to welding.
Okay, well,
So,
I think that's probably a
I'm
good
just
idea.
going to stick to what I'm good at. We'll
Yeah,
go
I think
there.
so. Yeah, well, I need to work on that too.
So,
Thanks,
great
buddy.
to meet you.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.